Tony Hasek of Goldilock. Goldilock is a security company, enterprise security, which basically takes the whole premise at a very basic level of just making sure that things have, cold storage. Everything should not be constantly connected, right? So would you please welcome Tony to the stage, Goldilock. Tony?
So thank you very much. Basic is a good word. Complex at the same time.
I was referring to my explanation.
But that's fine. That's fine because it shows that that you can understand what we do on a very basic level, and that's important because we've decided that what has to happen is people have to go back to very first principles when it comes to cybersecurity. So I'm not going to, I'm the after lunch presentation as well, so everybody now has a full stomach, so it's not any easier than before lunch. So I'm Canadian by birth, but I've lived in the Czech Republic for 35 years now. In Prague, I'm a dual citizen now. I speak several languages, spoke English and French before I went there. I'm a history and political science graduate, so I do not come from an IT background, or did not come from an IT background, and ended up making money in information technology because I wound up through happenstance starting a system integration company in the Czech Republic, grew it to be quite large, and then sold it. And thank you. I probably could have sold it better if I'd sold it earlier, but I did sell it. One of the advantages of not being from information technology is that I'm able to look at problems, or I was able to look at problems as an outsider. And especially in IT, I find that people have a very inculcated view of the way things are supposed to be structured, the way they're supposed to be implemented, what solutions they should be using, and it's very difficult to get them to look left or right of that. And that creates inefficiencies and it creates danger, which is kind of where we are now. We have watched the internet develop, or I certainly have with my gray hair, in a wonderfully innocent, organic, open way. So I remember the first time somebody showed me in my office sending and receiving an email. The last thing that I thought about, or that they thought about at that time, was that somebody's going to do a man-in-the-middle attack, intercept the email, change it, and drain my bank account. This was like, nobody thought of this, right? The internet was devised for something good. And it has been, in some instances, perverted. Overall, still a good, but it's something that we have now failed to mitigate properly. We good?
Tony, can I just
yes.
ask, the Czech Republic, why are there so many security companies that come out, and they all start with A, with the exception of yours? Right? There's just plethora, and they all become very, I would say one data point for the model, Damien's model, is you're from the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Therefore it must be good in cyber.
What was the gentleman the name who presented before me?
Damien.
So Romania is also a great cyber hub.
Yeah, indeed.
Eastern Central Europe generally are great cyber hubs because you have generations of people who were brought up being taught how to game the system. We're very trusting. Swiss people are very trusting. Canadians are very trusting. They don't trust anybody. They don't trust their governments. They don't trust their friends. They don't trust anyone. So if you want to test a cyber technology, do it in Central and Eastern Europe, because there's nothing they love more than trying to figure out how to get around that system. I mean, I was saying to Krishna earlier that when the wall came down, Austria had to totally revamp their ski industry because the Czechs and Slovaks and Poles and Hungarians were stealing everybody's ski equipment when they went up the hill, and they also could figure out how to get many people up on the ski hill by buying one ski pass. They'd get entire busloads of people, and the Austrians had no idea how this was happening, right? Because it's behind the veil. So that's one good reason. And I worked with those people, and my initial development of this happened there, but then I moved it to Boston and now in the UK. So the principle of our technology is that there is no safe space on the internet. which way do I go? Front? Yeah. I won't belabor you with all of the statistics about cybercrime because you read it every day. I don't have to tell you that this is a giant problem. We're looking at 20 trillion by 2026. It's actually 20 trillion by 2027 is going to be the cost of cybercrime worldwide. It's a massive, massive problem. And quantum and artificial intelligence are going to make this much worse. We're already seeing the demise of the firewall industry because of AI attacks. They are able to spoof the information that's going through these channels, and it's just going to get worse and worse. What's starting to happen is you're seeing hybrid warfare, and the goal of cybercrime is to kill and create chaos and to destroy democracies and destroy our societies. The problem is constant connectedness. As I referred to this earlier, we've gone down this path of creating literal superhighways into our infrastructure. So anybody can get into anything nowadays. Cybersecurity works to an extent, but it works a lot through the hope of obfuscation and hiding and not being a target. But that is going away because, especially with AI, you can target anything, anywhere, at any time with one instance. But to defend, you're going to need multiple instances and very, very different systems and technologies. So right now, there's a massive problem that not only is this costing a lot of money, but there's nobody to work in this industry. It's growing so quickly, and part of the reason is that the people who are working in cybersecurity become stressed out and they leave. They're not getting paid what they deserve. That's another question. But they're under constant stress because there is no time that they are able to relax. This is a bit of a joke. You may have seen this on the internet, on LinkedIn. In case of cyber attack, pull cables. Because countermeasures that we have now are slow, and they're ineffective, and they cost a lot of money. In the end, this is the final countermeasure, is that you are having people run around, pull cables in your infrastructure to stop the propagation of viruses or malware or what have you. That's slow, inefficient, takes time, and the recovery from that is extremely costly. It's even more costly than the initial attack in most cases. So we developed a solution. Our ethos, our belief is that the only safe place on the internet, the only thing that's safe on the internet is something that's not on the internet. Yes, it is not a panacea. This can't be used in every single application. But what our goal is to have this technology embedded into every single network in the same way that you would have you have fire doors in every single building. It will be a fail-safe stopgap that will allow cyber defenders and allow companies some level and measure of true 100% attack surface reduction. So our technology is multi-patented. It's NATO approved. We've gone through the NATO Diana accelerator of 2,600 applicant companies. They took 1,300, they took 44 for the first round, and then they took only 10 for the second round, and we were one of the 10 that was selected for the second round of, and it's the Defense Innovation for the North Atlantic is Diana. Now we actually have a stamp, and we are approved for NATO purchases without tender as well, because we're a sole source. Our product is called Goldilock FireBreak. You all understand what a firebreak is, especially in the last few years with all of the forest fires. You understand there's a cut line over which nothing, no attack can go. It's cost-effective protection against major breaches, fines, financial, and reputational loss. You all know about cybercrime. It's not only about how much money they're going to take from you, but it's about what it's going to cost you in the reputation with your clients and the time that it takes you to recover. 23andMe. Everybody read about that recently? Yeah, they're finished. They're done. And the thing that killed them was the cyber attack. when they had 23andMe. They're bankrupt. They declared bankruptcy last week. Yeah. 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 Who did it? I don't know. I don't know. But
But it is because they could continue to do it. If we don't know how they did it, they could continue to do it.
well, it's above my pay grade. But that's the big problem, is that you are looking at existential problems for companies. Because if you are a company like that, now people are being told how to get their information out of that system, but it's too late anyway. So let me explain what Goldilock is. So it is unique. There is no other technology on Earth that does what we do, and we have the IP to protect it. There's nothing that, I've been doing it now for 6 years. I've gone through all of those emails. You've had those emails from friends. You've had those emails from friends that say, hey, I think this is the same as your company. There's been nothing that's the same as our company. We're patented. We have US patents. We have EU patents. We have a British patent that's extended through the EU, and we have Singapore patent. So we're protected as much as we can be. What we provide is something called physical network segmentation. So it's just as it says on the tin. We're physically isolating networks. We're not relying on software. We're not relying on logic. We are actually disconnecting and connecting network assets. Anything that is attached to the internet that you can plug into the internet with an RJ45 cable or with fiber, we can remotely, physically disconnect that in seconds without using the internet.
But your phone is always sending a signal, even if you turn it off, right?
Your phone? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're not in your phone.
Right. But you can locate assets even if they're offline, right?
Well, you know where the asset is because you're putting this in front of the asset. If that comes later in the presentation, but this is right now we're talking about other applications for this, but the vision for this product is immense. So, and the way we do the triggering is through an unbreachable non-IP signaling method. So we have our own secure, hyper-secure SMS stack, and I'll get into that with people who want to know how that works later. There are some people who want the details, some people who don't. And we use other signaling methods that we have designed and adapted that use either satellite or long-range radio signals or certain IoT protocols. So for the less technical, the signal to do whatever you want goes around the open internet. So an attacker cannot, number one, they can't see these devices. They're totally invisible. And number two, they can't speak to these devices. Only the administrator can do that. Yeah. So as Donald Trump so eloquently said once, so some 400-pound guy in his basement with a laptop isn't going to be able to affect this at all. So it is complete, scalable, easy to implement network control. So we are able to deploy these over very, very large networks and to centrally control them and to control them at scale. So you can specify which parts of networks, which assets you want to be taken off or conversely brought onto the internet when you need them. And we provide 100% cyber attack surface reduction because there is a physical disconnection. It is when you're finished using us, the asset is not plugged into the network at all. There's no way to overcome that. There's a term air gapping. Some of you may have heard this. Generally, that just refers to a network that you're keeping off of the internet, but this goes down to individual port level, so very, very granular, which nobody's been able to do before. There's a small quote down here. This is genius. People have been trying to figure this out for ages. Many times when we speak to people, they say they actually tried to figure out a way to do this, and they couldn't do it themselves. So this is 3 solutions in one. The first one is the most obvious, which is the big red button, a reactive solution. So you discover you're under attack. Now, we play nice with all of the other platforms and every other thing that you need for cybersecurity. This isn't that you put this in and you don't need to do anything else. That's not the case. Cybersecurity is a very complex animal. So, but that's good for us because we have all of the other players in the cybersecurity industry coming to us and saying, we would like our platform, our CM platform, our XDR, ADR platform to signal this. Can we do this? Yes, we can. So we're giving them a value-added sale that also helps them to sell their platform because they're saying, you can be in bed at night and you can tell your platform, if this happens, disconnect these portions of the network and it will do it. And it will do it in a manner that is quick, efficient, and absolutely unbreachable. So by the time they wake up or by the time they get their act together, they know that everything that's happened is contained or they've isolated parts of the network so nothing can happen to it. It's a true physical cyber kill switch. It isolates assets instantaneously with zero internet connectivity. So pipelines, other areas where it's very difficult to tap into a fiber network, we're very good for that. We stop lateral movement dead. So once the virus or the malware or whatever ransomware is in your network, you can keep parts of the network clean or isolate them and then only expose them again when you're sure that they're safe. And as I said, we exponentially speed recovery. So recovery is the most costly part of a cyber breach. It can also be used for preventive isolation. So if you have crown jewels, if you have research and development labs, if you have anything that you really don't want exposed to the internet, but sometimes you need to have an avenue in and out, then placing Goldilock in that situation allows you to do that very selectively. When it's isolated, it's 100% isolated, right? It's like a drawbridge, yeah, exactly, yeah. And in the process of building this and in the process of building and developing it, we also managed to find a way to keep extremely accurate non-SNTP time within the devices. So you can schedule different ports to open and close at different times or to connect and disconnect. What we found in our POCs and our sales process is that many large organizations have outside vendors. And what those vendors end up doing, because they don't want to send people out to remote locations to patch, they install GSM modems into the racks. We had one water utility in the UK and they had 12 different modems installed in a rack that they didn't know anything about. So that's that second order vulnerability, that if that vendor is vulnerable, then people can get into their network through the network that they've created. So we're able to help them eliminate that completely. They give them a tunnel and a time that they can have access to the rack and they can do their patching and updates. At a very, very low level, imagine your own office. I mean, I started doing business in a time when cyber wasn't an issue because I had a network, and when I went home, I locked the door of my office and I didn't have to worry about anything. So the vast majority of companies on Earth are actually small, medium businesses. They have fixed working hours, and there is no reason for their network to be connected to the internet when they go home at night. They still may need access, the CFO, the CEO, the CTO, the sales director, and they can have that access using this product, but otherwise it's completely physically disconnected from the network. So they can sleep easy at night knowing that they have at least a 73% reduction in cyber exposure. Yeah, so you're getting these 3 in 1, and our market is every network. So imagine every network. The gentleman who was here this morning with the prefab construction or the robotic construction. So if everybody saw him show the little box that is the brain of every building, right? So every building has that brain now. Every car has that brain. Everything has that brain that is connected to the internet 24 hours a day. and it's terrifying. If you know what you know about cybersecurity, then you know that this is a really stupid thing for us to be doing, because the kind of attack that can happen, and eventually will happen, and they are starting to happen, can be societal ending. Yeah? This is just, it's just a graphic. I mean, you think of any place there's a network, and this is where our technology should be. And our market is immense. So this is just one vertical. This is just the operational technologies. So think of the controllers that are controlling waterworks, gas, electricity. So that's a 400 billion. If we just get a smidgen of this, and from what we're getting from the POCs that we're doing and the clients that we now have, it's going to be much bigger than this. And this is just for operational technology. So if we think of insurance, we think of enterprise, we think of fintech, we think of telecoms, health, everything. Goldilock could and should be everywhere. We're a hardware business. And there are probably, I don't know if there are, how many VCs there are in here, but if I had a penny for every VC who said, I'm not interested in hardware, I wouldn't need the VC money, because there's very outdated thinking about the process of developing, prototyping, and building hardware. It's really fast. I've worked in software. I would much rather do hardware. It's much faster to develop. It's much easier to produce. I have far fewer people. If anybody here has ever run a software business, you know, you end up having so many software engineers that you become an HR company. So our gross margin's 89%. Our 5-year revenue projection is 1.2 billion. These are numbers that I never saw when I was working in finance, and I never saw when I was working in software. And now I know the ease of doing this with a hardware product as well. We had our commercial launch in October of last year. So where we have a copper and a fiber product, we're able to build it, scale it, implement it, deploy it, and monitor it. And since then, we've developed 100. Our funnel, our pipeline is much bigger than this, but these are the real opportunities that we have now. So you can see we're a startup. We have 20 people. We've had $6 million of funding, and we're in direct discussions about embedding with Honeywell into their PLC systems. We've been, for the last 2 years, protecting all shareholder information for Etihad Airways. They're a private company. I didn't know that before I did this. We are now doing a POC with Singapore Land Transport. Their goal is to have us potentially in every single train car. They have 2,400 train cars and every single stoplight in the territory. I don't know how many stoplights there are, but probably a lot of them. This is the first client that we ever got, Yorkshire Water, which is a water utility, so we're protecting their remote pumping and control stations. Centrica, the Brits here will know they're, I think they used to be called British Gas. You mentioned them yesterday. So they're a client. Slovak Ministry of the Interior. We're in discussion with Lloyd's about us becoming potentially a condition precedent for cyber insurance. So if you want to get cyber insurance, you're going to have to show that you have the ability to completely disconnect whatever it is, and so on and so on and so on. And the use cases are absolutely not what I would think. For instance, the DoD approached us, and they blind through the web, and they said, we need about 900, right? These are units. We said, yes, we need about 900 of them. So we're retailing for about 20,000 US a pop, yeah? And then there's a recurring revenue component, which is, it's like when you buy a Cisco switch, you're paying for updates and maintenance, yeah? So they said we need 900 of them. So that in and of itself at retail is about $18 million. And we were like, of course you do. Of course you need it. You want to put it in remote weapon systems and protect radar. And they said, no, we need it for gas stations. Gas stations? Because the soldiers have figured out how to hack the gas stations, and it's the gas pumps, and it's costing us millions of dollars every month. So that's what they're looking at it for. They just came to us blind. We have other military and security use cases, but that's the idea, to give you an idea of that we really don't know where this is going to go. It's going to go everywhere. So we've won a whole ton of awards and gone through all kinds, been selected for all kinds of startup programs. The most prestigious so far is the NATO program that we're just finishing. And we've chosen a channel-first model. So we now have 12 international distributors. Bear in mind, we started in October of last year. We have 12 international distributors, and through them, over 160 resellers. And we're gaining about one distributor every 2 weeks. I don't want to build a giant sales team. I would rather utilize this huge workforce that's out there and people who want to sell something where they can make a really good margin. And we're offering a much higher margin than most other products as well, around 22%. Whereas in that business, at the end of the tail, they're usually making between 13 and 3%, depending on what the product is. So we are now more than sales ready. We already have sales, we already have deployments, and we already have large POCs running. We manufacture everything ourselves, which is another great thing. So from the get-go, I didn't want to have anything from China. I didn't want to have any of the software developed in the East. Apologies to anyone who might find that offensive, but it's the truth of the world today. So everything we do ourselves. 80% of the components are made by us, and the other 20% are sourced exclusively within NATO and European Union countries. We have one component that we get from China, and it's a piece of plastic. But even that we put on the outside of the box saying, for this certain kind of fiber, we have to use this one component, because nobody else in the world makes it. We have our own manufacturing facility. We manufacture everything in the United Kingdom, in Wolverhampton. And we now have the ability to fulfill $6 million in sales from the stock that we already have, because we were very cognizant of the supply chain issues that were happening in the last 2 years, so we pre-ordered a lot of the stuff that we needed. So this is our team. There are no young whippersnappers in the team, I'm afraid. We're all, I think, in the development team, we have some guys in their 30s, but otherwise everyone is in their late 40s or 50s. We all have some kind of entrepreneurial background. My co-founder, Stephen, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today because his flight was canceled from Chicago, he started 2 of the largest law firms in Europe. He's a telecoms and IT lawyer. So I'm sure that all of our IP and all of our patents are well-founded. Right now we're finishing a $2 million funding round. This was led by Harvard Business School alumni angels and New York angels. There's still $500,000 of that open, if anyone is interested. And then we'll move to a Series A of $10 million. What else can I tell you? What do we have? We look much bigger than we are. We were only 23 people, but we have press in BBC, Hacker Noon, Computer Weekly. We have fantastic reviews, reviews that I never thought we would get, but on the front page, I think you saw from Computer Weekly, they said, "Ignore this technology at your peril." So they really do believe it will be a standard. So here are a few quotes, since I put them in, and do we have time? Yeah. I'll say Goldilock should be a standard everywhere a network meets the internet. Andrew Ben Hayes, public network architect for Cisco. So his clients are the NSA, the CIA, the US military, those types of organizations. Rarely have we tested a device with such a dichotomy, an incredibly simple device on paper that has such a significant potential impact on security. Ignore it at your peril. So this is broadband testing with Computer Weekly. Goldilock reduced our cyber attack surface by 95%, quickly, affordably, and elegantly. It did it so well that the CISO of this company, once he bought everything, asked if he could work for us, which he does now. He's our head of Australia. If you need to protect crown jewel data, intellectual property, or computing infrastructure, this is your solution. Gregory Akers, he was the Senior VP of Advanced Security Research for Cisco. So these are people that when they saw this, they said, we've never seen anything like this. This is a game changer. And there you go. That's the end of my presentation. And I'm happy to answer any questions.